Hello indie game fans, in between the summer game mess showcases, watch mine if you have not, there are a bunch of upcoming games that were not part of those, so let's begin with Battledroid, a very interesting looking voxel MMO auto-battler strategy title in which players fight for control over territory on a world map, constructing armies of battle droids to go to war. I'm not usually a voxel art person, but it looks sick here and comes to us from indie developer Puppy Games, one of the OGs in the game, who made titles like Titan Attacks, Ultratron, Revenge of the Titans, Droid Assault and Basingstoke, which were some of the earliest indie games that I remember playing, so if interested, support them on Kickstarter. Here's a neat looking JRPG title named Legends of Astravia, one that looks fairly classically designed in that 16-bit RPG style, but has a little bit more to do in the overworld and dungeon exploration, since your character can jump, for example. In terms of combat, however, it looks like a traditional JRPG, so if you love the genre like me, this is one to watch. This video is brought to you by Gravity, with their project Start With Gravity, aimed at discovering and publishing compelling PC and console games that provide people with touching and enjoyable experiences. Some of the upcoming titles are Final Night, a side-scrolling action brawler with an auto-battler system in which you battle enemies and bosses, chopping off parts and gathering materials to then craft more advanced equipment. Multiplayer elements will be added on official release and it looks like a blast. Pigromance is a dark comedy puzzle platformer in which you play as a pig, attempting to escape a sausage factory, having various puzzle mechanics to wrap your head around. Little Gods of the Abyss is a puzzle adventure game set in the soul world within a mind in which you can open doors to heal emotional wounds, and where the levels warp depending on the character's state of mind and emotions, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Check out all the links in the description for more information and wishlist these games if you're interested. What if Rust but ducks? Well, that's the question that Duckside is trying to answer, in which you play as said bird and go about doing survival crafting game stuff in a PvPvE world. I initially thought that this would be more of a PUBG style battle royale title, but it is straight up a crafting survival game, and don't question how the guns work in this game, since they just appear to be kind of floating around the character model. Still, it is weird and interesting and unique and very indie games, with there being a free demo available for this game, so if curious, definitely give it a go. Okay, so for those of you that did watch my showcase, you might have missed the title of this game since I screwed up in the edits and left their title card out, in which Neon Blood is a pixel art adventure RPG set in a cyberpunk world, which looks awesome, so in case you were asking, go check it out on Steam via the link in the description below. You play as a detective who, driven by growing inequality, starts a revolution, mixing detective adventure game exploration as you traverse around the city with turn-based JRPG style combat. Similar to games like The Last Night and Replaced, the art style of this game caught my attention, and this game looks pretty promising. The developer of Sunset Devils did reach out, and I wanted to help them along since this game looks absolutely sick, being a pixel art top-down action shooter that simply looks awesome. Of course, it has an Old West theme and setting, telling the classic spaghetti western tale of vengeance as you hunt down the people that wrong you and claim the bounties on their heads. Most interestingly, this is pretty much an action game, but your revolver has to be loaded manually and every bullet counts, so it is not a trigger-happy, spray and pray kind of top-down shooter, which is an interesting design choice. I'm a sucker for pixel art, and it is very well done here, down to the shadows that the objects, buildings and characters cast, so I hope this gets funded. Another game that is currently on Kickstarter but has already crossed its target is RP7, the latest in the series of gambling-inspired roguelike titles following Luck Be a Landlord and Battledroid, but this has more of a classic RPG slant of adventuring to get loot and slaying monsters along the way. Your character is moving back and forth on the squares which you are rolling to see if you encounter an enemy, a chest, get equipment, items or more, with, I assume, the ability to influence the rolls to some degree, which leads to the strategy. There's also the repeated use of 7 in this game, from 7 character classes to play as, 7 slots on the so-called machine, and 7 randomized levels per run, which I appreciate since 777 traditionally indicates a jackpot, so they are fully leaning into this aspect. This next title might look familiar if you have been around indie games, since Nirvana Noir is the next game from developer Feral Cat Den, and is the follow-up to Genesis Noir from 2021, which has a very similar art style. In that game, a gunshot from a jealous god came to be known as the Big Bang, with this game instead exploring 2 parallel realities, one in which the Big Bang was never fired, and the other where the city of cosmic beings is exploding in colour and sin. This game definitely oozes style and goes to show how a coherent and amazing art style can make an indie game stand out among all the rest, with there being plenty of time on its Kickstarter, so I don't see any issue with this being funded. If you know anything about this channel, of course, Plus Ultra Legado will be of interest to me, since it is a gorgeous side-scrolling Metroidvania title that takes inspiration from comic books in terms of visuals, and has some elements rooted in real-life history. Set in the 16th century during Mexico's inception, you play as a Spanish explorer sent to take down Cortez, but is ambushed by a jaguar and is rescued by a native woman, and after her village gets burned down and her captured, you set off on a quest to repay a debt. Now of course, being based on history, I do wonder how accurate this will be, but the developers do talk about extensive academic research to get the details right. However, it is from a studio out of Spain, but is also dedicated to the Mesoamerican indigenous people, so there's plenty to digest and consider in terms of history and that of colonialism in particular, so I do hope the developers do it justice, but if you don't really care about the historical context, it looks like a solid Metroidvania nonetheless.
Tired of catching a cold every time you step out in winter? Well, suffer no more. Our team of drilling experts will arrive on your planet in no time. We do more than just mine. We're pioneers in regulating climates across the galaxy.
There was definitely something special with Domekeeper back in 2022, with more than a handful of games taking inspiration from that and putting their own spin on things, with the latest being Drill Core, but with a dose of oxygen not included as well. You are digging deep into planets in search of precious resources in order to stop climate collapse, but all that digging pisses off the aliens who attack the drill platform every night. This means you need to construct turrets and defenses to fend off enemies, while carefully managing your workers and progressing up the tech tree. There's only indirect control of the units, so you are not manually controlling the units like in Dome Keeper, so it is more like a colony sim with a vertical defense element, and does look very sleekly put together, coming to us from the team that made Black Skylands, and already looks like it has the potential to be even more popular than that game. A game whose Kickstarter campaign just concluded is Don't Kill Them All, which was successful and stood out to me due to the art style and visuals, being one part turn-based tactical RPG and one part base builder. You are playing as a half-orc life coach to a clan of these creatures in a fantasy world. We're attempting to teach them mindfulness, asking them to exercise restraint by not killing all the enemies, instead focusing on resource gathering so that you can upgrade the camp and improve the lives of all clan members. It is a wholly unique premise with an art style reminiscent of a clay entertainment game which looks great and is from the developer of Ship of Fools, so it's exciting to see their next project. Watch this video for more tactics titles.